I'm Kendall with College Students in the Know, talking with Mark Lipton again. Hi, Mark.
Good morning.
I know we've covered this before, but can you tell our audience what office you're running for?
I'm running for the Florida State House. That's the state house in our legislature, and it's District 79, and it covers unincorporated portions of Lee County. It starts with North Fort Myers, going over to Fort Myers Shore, Olga, Alva, and then it goes somewhat southeast to Lehigh Acres, and then down to Buckingham.
Today I'd like to talk to you about school safety. We've talked about public school funding. Does that tie into safety?
It absolutely does, because the state in its most recent legislation has mandated that every school have at least one SRO, that's a school resource officer, and those are trained armed deputies to protect the students. And before, we didn't have those in elementary schools, so there's an additional cost that the school boards have to incur, and there's been no funding provided.
I know there was a bill passed by our legislature and signed by the governor. Part of it was arming teachers in the classroom. Do you have a position on that?
I do, and that's the bill that I had mentioned previously. I don't like the idea of arming teachers in the classroom. I understand it's rigorous training before they can be armed, but I'm very uncomfortable with the thought of a teacher having to worry if a student bumps into them, that the student is trying to get the weapon, what might happen there. If a teacher does have an emotional problem, and they do, they're now armed and they're inside the perimeter. So that makes me very, very uncomfortable. I know our sheriff of Lee County, Sheriff Scott, was asked about arming the teachers, and his response was, we have to harden the perimeter of the schools. He says, we don't want even the scenario of somebody armed in the school. And I agree with that. I think we have to harden the perimeters, and that can be done in several ways.
Absolutely. What other parts of the bill, raising the age to 21 to owning a firearm, any thoughts on that?
The bill doesn't actually say someone can't have a firearm if they're under age 21 but over age 18. What it says is there can be no commercial sales to somebody between 18 and 21. So somebody's father or friend or family member can go buy the weapon and give it to the 19-year-old. And that's still legal. So I have a little bit of trouble with that portion of the bill. It didn't make a lot of sense. Someone who's 18 years old can enlist into the military, and we trust them to protect us. So I don't know that made a lot of sense, the way that portion was written.
So you have criticisms of the bill? I
do.
Would you have supported it if you were in the Florida House?
I would have. It was the bill, and it did have components that I support. The $400 million for mental health screening and treatment, I think was a great step forward. It's part of healthcare expansion. And as you know from our previous discussions, I got in this race because of healthcare issues. So I'm very, very happy with that money being allocated for that. It wasn't clear exactly how it's going to be spent, but it will be a benefit to a lot of people to have preventative care, preventative health care, and screening. So I like that portion of the bill. I also like the ban on bump stocks. I think that was great. That was a good step in the right direction.
And finally, what, if anything, would you have changed or added to the bill?
I would have added a ban on assault-style weapons. I can't tell you what every assault-style weapon is, but I can tell you generically what assault weapons are. They're weapons that have large capacity magazines and clips, 30 to 100 rounds in one clip. They're fast change clips, and they have short pull triggers. That means that you can pull that trigger back, many, many times faster than you could regularly. So these are semi-automatic weapons that can fire 30 to 100 rounds in a matter of a minute. And I think those should be banned.
Agreed. There are a lot of assault-style weapons on the street already. Do you think stopping the sale now would make a difference?
I do. You can't say because we have a lot of accidents that happen, it's not worth trying to slow them down. Or there's a lot of cars on the road, so we shouldn't have safety regulations. I think that we begin with banning assault weapons, and we did that in the 1990s. We reduced the number of deaths from assault weapons. People who protect their homes are protecting them with guns, handguns. They're not protecting them with large bullet capacity assault-style weapons. So, in my opinion, we can start doing that. It's going to slow down the rate of deaths from assault weapons, and I think it also helps us understand that owning handguns and rifles for hunting and things of that nature that the Second Amendment does protect, are where we should focus on background checks and waiting periods. And between all of those type of activities, I think that we'll have less deaths from guns and still protect people's Second Amendment rights who want to own guns for their own protection and for hunting. I think I support that, and that makes absolute sense.
It does get complicated, but you seem to have thought out the best approach about school safety. Thanks for sharing with us.
Well, you're very welcome, and again, I always say that, you find common ground and it's common sense, and I thank you for having me.
Thank you.